We spent a lot of time writing and developing what's going to be the new phase of Diamond Construct and making sure we were making the best music, finishing off what we started with DCX2 and continuing the story.
Welcome to the Spencer Whiteout podcast. Rated R.
You had some criminal charges with you, bro. It's like we're avoiding the sharks. Call it leather fetish, dude.
Yo, Greg, turbo neck guy?
I'll give you a kiss. You give me your number.
That checked out a ton, dude. Tell me you felt it.
We're Americans. We're the ones that are descendants from the 1776 musket-bearing motherfuckers.
Welcome back to the Spencer Whiteout podcast. In this episode, I have Braden and Liam of Diamond Construct. We talk all about their history, unique blend of electronics and metalcore, writing process, live shows, and much more. Let's dive in. So I want to ask you guys where you grew up, how you got started in music, and kind of what were your early inspirations?
Hey, everyone, by the way. It's Braden. Yeah, so I grew up in Taree. Got into metal just through like the local scene there, really. There was a lot of like metalcore bands around that time. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I grew up in southeast Sydney, towards kind of near the beaches like Maroubra, Botany area. I got started in music around, I think I was 10 or 9 years old. I think my sister was playing guitar and my dad said, I should just play the drums. And then I kind of stuck with it for a fair bit, not necessarily because I enjoyed it, because I could get out of school. And then I think when I was around 15 years old, I started getting into metal. And then I was like, holy, I didn't know you could use like 2 feet to kick a bass drum. I was like, that's crazy. And then I kind of fell in love with it from there. And then now I'm here.
And what was the first heavy band that you guys remember hearing?
I can actually pinpoint the time I listened to the song. So in high school, I was always friends with like people in older age groups because we all surfed. So it wasn't really about age. It was just kind of, we'd hang out surfing and they'd all listen to metal. And to be honest, I never was into it. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. I was like, oh, he's just screaming. I was like, how does anyone enjoy this? And then one day I was splitting headphones with my friend, like on the bus ride. And I think Architects, A Match Made in Heaven came on.
Oh.
I was vibing so hard. And then I realized, I was like, am I like into heavy music? So then I like asked them, I was like, oh, what bands should I get into? I think I ended up listening to like Spinning, a lot of North Lane, a lot of Architects, a lot of that sort of stuff. It all stemmed from, I think, just exposure. But yeah, I can pinpoint that was definitely the first time I enjoyed a heavy track.
Nice.
That's sick. For me, it would have been like Linkin Park or like Slipknot. Everyone around me was like always playing metal and like heavy stuff. So I kind of got into it pretty early on. So I can't even really like pinpoint like what was like the first song or like anything like that. But probably, yeah, one of those bands, I reckon.
I remember for me, I was into hard rock as a kid, like 1,000 Foot Crutch and Family Force 5, and a lot of the bands in like the Christian hard rock scene, as well as, you know, other stuff like Linkin Park and Limp Bizkit. And then I remember hearing For Today, Devastator, and I was like, whoa, I liked the music, but I was like, the vocals are a little intense. It's a little scary. And then I found Icy Stars, Palisades, and Issues, and they were kind of doing electronics and dubstep with metalcore. And I was like, oh, I can actually get down with this. And then once I heard those, it was kind of just a rabbit hole and you just discover more and more bands. And then I think once you go to your first show, it's just like game over and you're just a fan for life. So did you guys remember your first like heavy shows?
Oh, that's awesome. Braden, what was your first show?
Yeah, I do remember it. A show with a band called Inhale the Sea, which they were like a really cool metalcore band around their time. Yeah, there was a lot of like small shows in like Taree, one of the like first gateways into the scene, I guess. But like first proper actual show with like a big band, I think it was seeing August Burns Red in Newcastle.
Nice. And so where did you guys get the band name for Diamond Construct?
So the band name, it's actually really weird. It was originally like the one that we liked the most was The Construct, which was like a reference from The Matrix, which is like one of our favorite movies. But there was already a band called The Construct at the time. So I remember just spinning the album Diamond Eyes by Deftones like heaps, and I just liked that word, and I just said to Kynan, what about like diamond construct? And he was like, yeah, okay, that's cool. Like, it kind of sounds like a name generator name, but I guess it's cool.
Yeah, you just got to smash two words together that sound cool. Yeah, and so I also just wanted to hear about your relationship with your brother Kynan and how you guys started the band.
Obviously, like, growing up together, we just played music all the time, so yeah.
Does Kynan play any other instruments?
Kynan plays guitar. A lot of people might not know, yeah, and he also writes like the sickest songs. Me and him like split the writing pretty much 50-50. In my opinion, I reckon his songs are like the better songs. Like, he says the same about like mine, and I'm like, okay, it's cool, but like that brotherly competition, just always like leveling up and competing to write like the best riffs.
That's awesome. So I want to talk about being signed to both Greyscale and Chord and kind of how those collaborations came about.
Chord actually came about through Greyscale. I think Josh from Greyscale actually pitched it to us. And then I think there was a couple other options I think some of the other boys wanted to try. But we ultimately went with Chord because we like their roster. We also like how it's very small and it's niche. And we have a very niche sound, I suppose. Pretty hard to categorize us, but we were like, all right, let's just see where it goes. Let's run with it. And then now we're here.
I was just going to add, with the two labels, so like obviously Chord is US based and Greyscale is like Australian based. So a huge advantage teaming up with Chord is now we can get our foot in the door to like get some things like moving in the US and get some promotion and connection going over there as well.
Nice. Liam, why don't you tell me about how the live shows have been and if there's any best or worst shows that stick out in your mind, and then we can hear from Braden.
So I probably joined the band around 2 years ago. But yeah, I think we played a show for Fireball, which is like a whiskey company. That was definitely, I think, the worst show. As for best show, I reckon one of the funnest shows we played was a festival in Adelaide called Froth and Fury. Someone got heaps of footage and we watched it back, and it was nice to watch us as a group sounding tight.
What made that Fireball show the worst show?
Too much alcohol before.
Too much Fireball.
Too much Fireball, yeah.
And then Braden, what about you for live shows? Best and worst live shows?
One that comes to mind was like ages ago. I was like a kid back then. I was like 18 or something. And I did like acid the night before. And like I rocked up to the show and played the show in the wrong tuning, like the entire set, and like I didn't realize until like the end of it. So yeah, there's been ones where like the laptop's fallen mid-set and like we just have to stop playing because like we have no tracks or anything. Yeah, best show, the Froth and Fury one was so good because we'd driven overnight to Adelaide and we were so tired by that point. It was like the end of a tour. And it was just bizarre. Like, everyone was in crazy pirate outfits. We took it on, like, we took on board, like, the whole pirate life. And we'd say, yar, to each other, like, all the time. So, the show was good, too. Like, it was a good show.
It was a good show,
that's
wasn't
awesome.
it?
And then, Braden, tell me about your songwriting process.
I don't know. It changes. I go through phases and try, like, a few different ways of writing, but at the moment I'll like hear a song or a riff idea in my head. If I'm at work or something like that or not near the guitar, I'll like sing it into like my phone and it just sounds stupid. It just sounds like literally like that, but it gives me like an idea to like remember any of the ideas, or it might be a vocal idea, and then I'll come to the computer and I'll like figure out what that riff idea was, and I'll generally like be using a lot of the pedals and like a lot of automation and whatever I can do to make it not really sound like a guitar. But yeah, a big part is also like the blending of the electronic stuff that's under pretty much everything throughout the whole sound. So that's a huge part of the songwriting process, is getting like those kind of parts right, and takes ages. But like a new part of the process which has been really good is we've got Liam rewriting like our like shitty demo drums and making them like super sick. Yeah, did you want to talk about that, Liam?
Yeah, so Braden and Kynan, they were both write kind of like the whole song, the structure, And then we usually have like very basic demo drums, which if you're a drummer, I'm pretty sure everyone can relate to getting what we like to call as guitarist drums, which they're either super boring, don't make sense, or super unrealistic and you need to be an octopus to play it, which we all know is never going to happen. So we've kind of figured out a dynamic that works. I need to write what's best for the song. So is the next section fast? Is the next section slow? Where do I want the snare accents? Do I want to push the song, pull the song? Like, I want to make it all try and flow as smoothly as possible rather than having lots of stop-starty sections. Like, I want it to feel organic. So I'll try and work my magic around them, but it does get a bit hectic with some of the guitar riffs. Sometimes I'll sit there for ages and be like, I'm just so stumped. And then there's other times where I'll just have an idea and I'll almost write the whole song within like half an hour. And I'll be like, this is sick. Why can't I do this all the time? But it's ultimately just working around them and just what suits the song the best.
Yeah, doing what's best for the song really is important. And I watched your Psychosis guitar playthrough, and I remember being stunned that you were doing all that with the pedals. And I was like, what? I thought so many of these sounds were electronics and made on the computer, but they're actually made with the guitar and all the pedals. So that was pretty impressive. And I just got to give you a big shout out for that, because I don't think people realize just how much of it is actually coming from you as you're playing.
Oh, thanks heaps, man. There's a lot of like great guitarists out there. I'm not like a shreddy guitarist or whatever, so I've put a lot of thought into like trying to do things different. It's been like my main focus. It's great to hear people enjoy that side of the band.
Braden's crazy. He just tap dances. He's mental. I don't know how he does it.
So working with Lance Prenc, he's an amazing producer, and he does the greatest mixes and masters on Alpha Wolf, Void of Vision, Gravemind, Dark Matter, Dissect. The list goes on. So how was it working with him?
Yeah, Lance has always been a G. We've worked with him since we dropped the single Paradox, which was like the first single before the self-titled album. So been working with him for years now. I think this is third release we've done with him. He's always like down for like doing as many mix revisions as like possible to like get the product to where it should be, which is like so chill to work with, because it's obviously like heaps stressful, you know, recording it all ourselves. Like we're like panicking by that point. So he's always like relaxed and easy to work with. Plus he makes it sound fucking mega.
Well, it's crazy to hear, like, from going from writing it in my room on a laptop and scrapping it, rewriting it, and then writing it on paper, to learning it, recording it, to then have it come back as like the finished product it's kind of crazy. Can't imagine how the boys feel when they do a whole song and they're like, yeah, I did all of that. And now it's like, sounds really good.
That's awesome. So I'm a filmmaker, and I tend to get inspired by music to create films. And I was wondering if there's been a few films that have inspired you guys to create music, or a follow-up question, if there's any movie that you wish your music could be a part of.
Yeah, some scenes in like The Matrix and sci-fi stuff, as weird as that sounds, because I love like Star Trek and shit like that. So I don't know, like some of that gets like my imagination flowing. And I love Dragon Ball Z, always loved that since I was a kid. So some of the scenes like in Dragon Ball Z kind of, I guess, create like a certain feeling that could be used for inspiration for music.
Yeah, nice. So I want to talk about your guys' style change from a more classic metalcore to kind of drifting towards a nu metal, electronic inspired sound. I remember DCX2 was a huge step up when it dropped, and I remember being blown away by Psychosis and Enigma. And I just want to ask about the thought process behind this change in sound, and how intentional was it, and kind of what was the vision behind it?
So like we were listening to a lot of music that wasn't really metal pretty much towards the back of when we were like writing the album. And we started noticing like we were listening to a lot more like mainstream stuff than we had been before. Like we were obviously still really into metal and stuff like that. We were looking at like some of our favorite bands like Korn and Linkin Park and Meshuggah and stuff like that, how they could kind of really make like a legacy in their own way. They all started like, I guess, in a pretty oversaturated genre, but seemed to pioneer their own way to do it. So yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me of Void of Vision as well, because you guys both were kind of doing a more, like I said, classic metalcore sound, which, as you said, can be kind of oversaturated. And then you guys in Void of Vision, and there's countless other examples, but you kind of ditched that and decided to kind of go all in on a certain sound and aesthetic. And I think it's paying off really, really well. So congrats on that. I did want to bring up Hit It Back because that one was kind of a funny track and I saw a lot of hate on it. And, you know, you're using the word baby cakes and you got dancers and it's over the top. It's cheesy, but it's also really fun and extremely catchy. And so I just got to ask about the inspiration for that song and how the response has been for that track.
That song is like actually really old. The main riff I wrote in like 2017, like before the album. And I remember just, it always stuck with me, that riff. I was like, it's so sick. And it was when we'd just wrapped up doing DCX2, I was like, let's just go extreme on this. Cause we were just like listening to like a bunch of like hip hop. At that point we had lost our minds and like COVID was happening and we thought it was a good idea to do that song. But like, I'm actually so glad we did because we like pushed it probably as far as people could probably tolerate the band. At first, the response to it was like, what the fuck is this shit? But then it like sort of grew on people and became this weird sort of cultural song for DC that like, I'll always think that's probably like one of the sickest songs. We'll definitely do something like that again in the future, but probably leave out the twerking and baby cakes.
I want to talk about the new single Jynx. I'm blown away by this song. I absolutely love it. What is this song about?
Oh, Braden, do you want to take this one?
The song lyrically, like I didn't have anything to do with that. So I guess that would be more for Kynan to like answer. But I generally know what the song is about. And I know it's like something extremely personal to him. So that's probably why like the emotion of the song is so intense throughout. It's like a very genuine song. You know, we can have the fun songs like Hit It Back and stuff like that. But, you know, we can go into these more serious, heavier songs.
So what is the music video about and what's on the note and kind of why the crown of thorns? I want to talk about the aesthetic.
I think we wanted to make the clip a lot more performance-based and have like a narrative as opposed to like the last couple of music videos, which are just about looking fucking steez and partying or whatever.
Yeah, shout out Colin Jeffs, 10 of Swords Media. He is the fucking man. As for the note, Braden, is what's written in quotation marks at the end of the video, is that what's meant to be on the note? Do you know?
I can't remember. There was something to do with the note, but I don't know.
All right. Turns out we don't know anything about our own band.
It's classified.
Yeah.
Definitely classified.
That's what we'll say.
Classified.
So I want to ask, what do you think the greatest challenge you faced as a musician or as a band has been?
Oh, I think greatest challenge as a musician personally is getting time to practice. Drums is one of those instruments where it's fucking loud, it's annoying, you piss everyone off, and you kind of can't really do it quiet. And even when you are doing it quiet, it's still loud. Like I said, I lived with Kynan and Braden. Even when I had a practice kit with like mesh drum heads, which aren't necessarily loud, you're still kicking on the floor, making heaps of noise. So I think practice and sometimes just finding inspiration when you can't have the time to do what you love and put in the effort and the hours required to be good at it. So I think that's more from a personal standpoint. I think as a band, the biggest challenges is trying to stay positive and motivated when everything doesn't seem to be going your way and kind of gelling together as a unit and leaning on each other. Yeah, I definitely would say that's the hardest challenge, and the only way to overcome it is have like a brotherhood within your band.
That's good.
Yeah. The hardest challenge is, like Liam said, is just when like things aren't going your way, to be able to like stay motivated and push. People might just see the end product where like the band is doing okay now, but like there's years and years where like you're sleeping on floors and like, you know, no one's taking you serious, and you just like, the hardest part is just staying positive and like motivated as a group through those periods.
Yeah. And so what was going on during the last few years? Because you guys were pretty silent for a while, and I want to know what you guys were working on and just kind of what was going on during that period.
Yeah, it looked like we were pretty quiet, but there was a lot going on within the band. So we kind of thought after DCX2, there was like a lot that we started that we kind of skipped over, like when we went to Hit It Back, and maybe the direction had gone sort of the wrong way. So it was a big period of like kind of refocusing on where the band needed to be a lot of members in and out. I think we had, a couple of different drummers over the period, different like people doing DJ roles and stuff like that. So yeah, we spent a lot of time writing and developing what's going to be the new phase of Diamond Construct and perfecting that, making sure we were making the right moves and making like the best music we could make and finishing off what we started with DCX2 and like continuing the story.
Yeah, so what is going to be the next phase and kind of how are you continuing the sound? Is it going to be another EP? Is it DCX3 or will it be an album or something else entirely?
There's
more music.
There's more than one song. There may even be more than 2 songs.
All right. If Jynx is any indication of the direction, I think it'll be really good. So I'm looking forward to it regardless. I wanted to ask, Braden, do you have any favorite lyrics or anything you'd want people to take away from listening to your music?
That's a good question. Favorite lyric? I would have to think about that one a bit more. What about you, Liam? You've got lyrics tattooed on you, so you've definitely got favorite lyrics.
Oh, yeah. Okay. 100%. Yeah. So I've got panic, pain, everything between tattooed on me. I think I first heard that song when I was like 17. I was a genuine fan of the band. But that was the first song I got into from DC. And then obviously once I'd been in the band for like a year, I was like, oh, I guess this tattoo has more meaning than the other ones because half of my tattoos don't mean anything. So this will be a nice change. As for my second favorite set of lyrics, they're probably baby cakes, lick it off my face. It resonates with me, so
it resonates on a deep level. Well, that's a great way to end the interview. Last question I'll ask is, what's next in 2023 and what can we expect in the new year?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but fuck it, I'm going to say it. There should be, hopefully, another song out by the end of 2023.
Woo, let's go.
Yeah, maybe not, who knows?
Hopefully next year, new music, that will be more than another song. And a lot of touring. That's the plan. Where people can find us, head on like our Instagram. That's where we're like most active. We like to post on like our TikTok and stuff like that as well. So definitely check out our YouTube channel as well if you want. There's like a lot of behind the scenes content of a lot of shit over the years. So yeah.
Hell yeah. Guys, thank you so much for being a part of the podcast.
100%. Thanks for having us.
You had such good questions, so it was like heaps good to do it. Thanks heaps for this.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, I ask that you leave a rating/review. 5 stars is a power play. Also, be sure to follow the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and you can find me on Instagram at Spencer Whiteout. Lots more band interviews coming soon, so stay tuned, stay hyped. That's a wrap.
And that's it.